Welcome back to the Speakeasy Podcast. So, Amy Bernhard is one of my closest friends in real life, but she's also one of my favorite people to learn from. I call her my continuing education friend. And she has been on the most incredible journey of learning about herself and her body. And she recently posted something on Instagram about what if our weight loss journeys aren't just about our bodies, but are about God teaching us about ourselves and preparing us to take us to the next level. And that just really stuck with me. And I've been wanting to unpack it with her. So I finally got her to sit down and chat about it. And it's also really perfect timing to have this conversation. We're headed into the holidays, the end of the year, the beginning of the new year. A lot of us are thinking about our health and the decisions that we're making. And this conversation really takes it beyond the physical and into the spiritual, which is where things really start to change. So while we're talking about health really quick, it's open enrollment right now. Let's all be honest. It's just stressful because healthcare can be the worst. It's some kind of like middle-aged rite of passage that you're at a dinner table having conversations using words like premiums and deductibles because we're all like, why are we paying for insurance, but it doesn't feel like it, you know? And that is why I love that there are alternatives like Crowd Health. You pay a monthly advocacy fee, and with that, you get access to a team that's going to negotiate your bill pricing. You get lower priced prescriptions and lab work and a database of low cost, high quality doctors. And then if something big happens, you pay the first $500. And then the other people in the plan, the crowd, step in to cover the rest. And it's simple and it's transparent. And the best part is your money is going to actually help people. So this open enrollment, you can take your power back. Join Crowd Health to get started today for $99 for your first 3 months by using the code SPEAKEASY at joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com, code SPEAKEASY. Quick disclaimer, Crowd Health is not insurance, but this is how we opt out and take our power back. So go to joincrowdhealth.com. It's so fun to just have a friend on the show. Like, this is great. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
So you posted some stories that then became a reel with this question at the center, which is like, what if your weight loss journey is not about weight loss at all? And I was like, that's a podcast episode, but you refused to start a podcast. So I was like, bet, come on mine. Because I think you had a lot of responses to that. People were like, oh, and this is a larger conversation that we need to unpack. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But I want to start by letting people learn about you a little bit and what your journey has looked like for the last, I think it's been like you would say you've been all in for what, last 18 months?
For sure, 18 months, but I think it's like important to kind of go back a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a decade. And I don't want to go, and draw this out, but it's so important because it makes sense why I struggled so much. I started like really my lifestyle change 10 years ago, and it was very all or nothing. Health journey. And so I did that through bodybuilding. And like I got into fitness competitions and I lost a bunch of weight and a bunch of fat. I had 6 abs, okay, which is a big deal for me because you and I are from South Louisiana and like we like to eat and we like to blame a lot of things on our genetics. And so I come from a family that don't have abs. I was like the first in my bloodline to have abs. Okay, that's a big deal. And so I was like, oh, wait, like this isn't my genetics. I could actually lose fat and build muscle at the same time. And so I did that transformation through tracking macros, extensive cardio, and like spending about an hour and a half at the gym 5 to 6 days a week. And like
That's a
literally
lot.
eating cold fish out of gallon bags and like meal prepping my food. And so then I have my first daughter. in 2017. And everybody was like, girl, you're just going to bounce back. Like the weight is just going to fall off. I gained 60 pounds for my first pregnancy, bro. Like I believe 25 were in my breasts. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let's call my Dover Delawares, my big titties. And so they were huge. And I really thought that I was going to bounce back and I didn't. Like I actually gained more weight
Me too.
after I had my daughter
Hmm.
because they were like, oh, breastfeeding, you're gonna just lose weight with breastfeeding.
Just gonna fall
So
right
I
off.
started eating all the breastfeeding cookies, to
Yeah.
increase your lactation. And so I gained more weight, but here's what I kept doing. I kept trying to go back to the old ways of what I knew. Like I kept trying to lose weight through tracking macros, through meal prepping, through eating out of gallon bags. And it would last about 2 weeks. And then I would fall off for 2 weeks, or I would fall off for a month, or I'd fall off for 2 months. And then I would restart. And then I just kept on that cycle because I was like, that's what worked for me in the past. This has to be it. Like all I knew was tracking macros. All I knew was it doesn't matter if I'm full. I have to continue to eat no matter how late it is at night. Even if I'm not hungry at 9 p.m., I have to hit my macros.
Hmm.
That's how I was.
And
And
would
I
you
was
also say that you were like, were you eating like things that were good for you?
back in like no 5 years ago, no, I was still like very processed foods
Yeah.
and like whatever could fit in my macros. Like
Gotcha.
if it was Oreos, I'm gonna fit it in. And
Right.
so obviously we all had this awakening in 2020, and I started to learn about big food, and I started to learn about food dyes and seed oils and how they're like really inflammatory. And what happened was it really all started like this pivotal moment after I had my then second daughter. I never lost the baby weight. I was still 40 pounds heavier, right? With my second daughter. And I decided to do Whole 30 for the first time. And Whole 30 is an elimination diet if y'all are not familiar with it. And basically, in a nutshell, you can really only have like whole foods. So if
Hmm.
it doesn't come from a box, a bag, or a barcode, like
Yeah.
you want to eliminate all those things. You want to eliminate dairy, like no cheeses. Um, you want things that come from the ground, like chicken and fit. Not, chicken doesn't come from the ground, but like whole
From
foods
nature.
that God created,
Yeah.
essentially from nature. I did that and I lost 8 pounds of inflammation, but that's when I realized how addicted I was to processed food and sugar,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
It was like almost like a spiritual awakening where I felt so good. I
Hmm.
had so much more energy. And that was the only thing that I changed. That was it. I was not lifting weights. I didn't want to stress about anything else. It was literally just eating whole foods. And I didn't want to go back to my old ways after
Hmm.
that point. And what I slowly started to do was making slow swaps with my family. Like I didn't want to, my kids were living on McDonald's chicken nuggets and Velveeta mac and cheese and hot dogs and all those things. And I knew I couldn't do extreme. So I just started to slowly swap the Doritos for the CAT or the Boulder
Yep.
chips,
Yep.
right? Um, but then there was this moment, March 16th, 2024, that I remember that day because that was my husband and I's wedding anniversary, and he bought me some clothes. That's what he does. I don't like to shop, so he bought me some clothes, and I go to try them on, and they were all size larges, and I'm like, "Yep, that'll fit, not a big deal." And all of it was too small. And for me, back in the day, I was in a smaller medium, like easily. So for me to have to go, and it's not about the size, it's about that I did not recognize who I was at that point.
Like you're no longer comfortable in your literally your own body.
No, you're not comfortable in your marriage. Like I didn't
Right.
want to go to date nights anymore because I did not want to dress up because nothing fit. But
Yep.
then I refused to go shopping because nothing felt good on myself. And
Yep.
so it was affecting my business too. Like I didn't want to get on video because I could not stand to look at the person that I saw on video. It was affecting all aspects of my life. And that day, I grieved so hard. Like I allowed myself to finally just cry and grieve the body that I once had and where I thought I would be and where people told me I would be at this
Mm.
point. And I just let myself first cry, because we try to hold it all in. But I remember just looking at myself in the mirror that day and I said, this is the last time that I'm going to see you. And I
Mm.
want to get a good look at you, all of your imperfections, all the cellulite on your body, all the scars from having kids. Like, I want to get a good look at you because it's just going to get better from here.
I
And
want to
that was
pause
my
right there.
decision day, man.
I want to pause right there because I think there's this like the body positivity movement that we have kind of been drinking out of this fire hydrant of for like maybe a decade now, where there are so many women like because my story is exactly the same. Like I needed to change. Did my husband still think I was beautiful? Absolutely. Was I still beautiful? Absolutely. Was I still worthy and loved and cherished and capable? Absolutely. But I was miserable. I was freaking miserable. And I hated everything that you just said. I hated getting dressed. I hated going places. I had no clothes, like not, I had like nothing because I hated going shopping. And so there's these like two extremes that I feel like we're tugged between of like, yes, every body is beautiful, but I sure didn't feel beautiful and I wanted to do something about it. And I'm not going to feel bad about that. And so, like, I think sometimes people hear women talk about their bodies when they were unhappy with them, and they're like, oh, like, no, no, thank you. I appreciate that. But that does not mean that the way that I felt about myself wasn't also valid and didn't end up serving as a catalyst to get out of really unhealthy, toxic lifestyle choices.
Well, I think it doesn't matter which size you are as long as you're confident and happy with yourself. Like it really
Right.
doesn't matter. And like it goes back to me, it was affecting everything. It was affecting how I parent my children. My daughters were starting to see me as insecure and hide myself in certain
Mm-hmm.
ways. And she was mirroring me and doing the same thing. Like that's not what I want. So I'm glad you said that because it's not about the size. It's all, it's
Mm-mm.
about how you feel internally. And it was that day where I hired a coach to help me. Her name is Fat to Fit Amy P on Instagram, and she was a fasting coach. And from there, I just started fasting, like really. And that's when I realized how I let food control me and how much I was really stuck in bondage with tracking macros. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at food as food, I looked at it as numbers
Mm-hmm.
and ounces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was constantly tracking, okay, this is so many ounces. So this is so many, grams of protein and all these things. And I was still stuck in the mindset of, okay, if I'm going to fast, well, now I need to binge eat to eat all of my macros in this window, and that
Yeah.
wasn't healthy either. And so my coach told me something, and I need y'all to, this was, this is, this is stupid, easy advice, but it radically changed me. And she said, Amy, I want you to eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you're full. And she was like, it's that easy. We have trained ourselves we have food all around us all of the time. We can get it in DoorDash. We have these microwaves where we can heat up food. It is all around us. We're constantly consuming food because we are so distracted. We're distracted with TVs, we're distracted with our cell phones and social media and work that we don't even realize we're actually eating all of
Mm-hmm.
the time. That was me. I did not realize that I was shoving food in my face all the time until I started fasting. And that's when I started controlling my habits and making my daughter's lunch. I'm shoving food in my mouth. I'm constantly eating when I'm not hungry. So, what fasting did for me was get me in touch with my body.
Yeah.
Like, how does my body actually feel right now? Am I hungry or am I bored? Am I hungry, or is this just out of habit? Am I hungry, or am I trying to dissociate from a life stressor that just happened and I'm trying to shove food in my face because I'm anxious or I'm stressed?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was this massive like light shining on me where I can see how addicted I was to food and how much I lacked a discipline. And so from there, when Coach Amy asked me, she said, "What are some of the, like, how do you want to identify yourself as after this program's over?" I said, "I want to be a disciplined person. I want to identify as a disciplined person. That is my goal." And I love this analogy. And I want y'all to picture a table with four legs. And so that table is your identity. Okay. And the four legs, that table could be actually your false identity, first
Mm.
off. And the four legs is the false beliefs holding up the top of the table, right? And so at that moment, whenever I started this 18 months ago, that top of the table, that false identity was, I'm not a disciplined person. I'm lazy. I'm consistently inconsistent. And every time I make my health a priority, I fail.
Okay, wait, pause.
These are my genetics.
Because you already knew you had done it. Like you had done it before. So you did, like, your identity changed from then to now?
100%,
Gotcha.
100%. Like in those 6 years, it absolutely changed because I kept trying and failing publicly on Instagram over and over. Like I was literally documenting every time I would restart and then documenting me failing and restarting. And so it starts to take a hold of you. And I
Yeah.
had the legs to support it. Like all the times I failed at 75 hard. Oh, well, let's create 75 medium. Oh, failed at that. Let's create 75 soft/small. Failed at that too. And so I had all the supporting beliefs that held up this table. And there was this one day where I was like, you know what? I'm going to chop off the legs. Like, let's chop off the legs of this table. And if I want my identity to be disciplined person, I need new legs to hold up this foundation. And so I started beginning to focus on when were the times in my life when I had discipline. And so I focused on, okay, it took a lot of discipline in college to make a 3.9. That took discipline. It took a lot of discipline to build two successful businesses. It takes a lot of discipline to keep my kids alive. Okay. Like it takes a lot of discipline to play sports. Like I just started focusing on the times of when I had discipline, and that's all I focused on, not the past, not my past failures. And then I said, okay, I'm going to really focus on what is this small discipline I could do every day. And for me, that was walking.
Mm-hmm.
And it became like a prayer walk, like you do worship walks.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I was like, walking is not really doing anything. But I want to encourage y'all, every time you show up outside and you show up for yourself in a walk, you are literally rewiring, rewiring your nervous system to show that you are a disciplined person. Like every single walk, you may not see the physical results right then and there, but you are reshaping your identity to become that disciplined person. So like, I want to encourage people listening to this is not to focus on the physical results, but focus on the habits that are going to instill discipline. Like, and that was when everything shifted for me when I focused on the habits that can shift into discipline.
Well, and an ultrasound doubles the chance that a mother will choose life. So picture this. Woman walks into an abortion clinic. She's scared. She's alone. She's planning to have an abortion. And through preborn, she is offered a free ultrasound. And in that moment, she gets to see her baby. She hears the heartbeat. And usually everything changes. This year alone, over 38,000 babies have been rescued through preborn's work. And it's not just about saving babies. They care for the mothers as well through counseling, financial support up to 2 years after the baby is born. It's the kind of help that makes motherhood possible. And you can be the hero behind saving a life by giving just $28 to sponsor an ultrasound, giving a mother the chance to see her baby and choose life. So go to preborn.com/speakeasy. That's preborn.com/speakeasy. Give a life, give a gift, be the first voice of hope. What going back to like the stories, I love you. First of all, I love hearing your story told because I got to like live it. And so when you like get to high level, like sum it up, I'm like, this really, it's been a crazy 18 months. Like your life has radically changed and you've radically changed. And like, last of all, your appearance has radically changed, right? Like all of these things were dominoes. And now, like, you're writing a book. Do you ever just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be a published author. That's insane. And that was kind of where you were going with those original stories was if you had not learned the discipline, if you had not allowed God and this experience to reshape your identity into the truth, because all of that was a lie. You are disciplined, you are capable. Do you think you'd be able to be doing what you're doing today?
So one of the big lies that I was telling myself was that my body's broken. Like I said
Mm,
that every single day my body's broken. It can't lose weight. Like, but I realized that it was actually my mind that was actually broken. My mind was the thing that needed the healing and the growing. And I lost 30 pounds naturally in about 15 months. And I say naturally because it was so important for me to prove to myself that my body is not broken. Like
yeah.
that was a big thing for me. I don't care what anybody puts in their body, as long as they have informed consent. I do not care. But I'm proud that I was able to do that. And this was like in August. God put it on my heart to begin writing a book, like basically an awakening guide, sharing my awakening to big pharma and big food and Oxycontin and SSRIs that were I was on and childhood vaccines and, cancer standard of care and all of these big topics. And as I was working on my book one day, I literally, it was so clear. I opened the refrigerator and I said, man, this book is taking a lot of discipline to write. And God said, that's what it was about the whole time. I needed to shape your identity so that you can identify as a disciplined person so that you can finish what I called you to start. And I was like, that is what it was about. It was
Yeah.
never about the fat loss. It was
Yeah.
never about that. Like he knew what was ahead. He knew my future. He had it planned out. And he's like, sis, I need you to make your health a priority right now because you're gonna need the mental energy. You're going to need the creativity. You can't have brain fog anymore. You can't be taking naps every single day because you're insulin resistant. Like, I need you to identify as a disciplined person so you can finish this. And I shared that story on Instagram, and so many women resonated with it, women that it encouraged them
Mm-hmm.
to start their journey. But the stories that I got where people were like, oh my gosh, you have connected the dots. I'm thinking of these two women specifically, and I'll say their name. One woman's name is Alyssa, and she started her health journey around the same time I did. And she had autoimmune diseases. She was just very inflamed. She was about 40 pounds overweight. And all she could do was walk.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she could do. Like, she was like, she had three small kids. Her husband's in the military. He was gone at the time. She was alone with her kids. And so she said, all I could do was put on my weighted vest and I walked for 30 minutes. And still, 18 months later, that's all I did. She's lost 40 pounds. She's reversed her autoimmune diseases. But she says, Amy, we've been living in black mold in our housing. And if I didn't make my health a priority then, I wouldn't be able to literally pack up my whole family's house by myself with my three kids and uproot and move to Chicago. And she said it's because God knew that I needed this energy to
Yeah.
do this. Like, it was not about the weight loss. And then I get another woman named Priscilla, and she's like, I changed my health about 5 years ago, and I felt so convicted to start right then and there. Like I needed to make it a priority. A few years later, my mom needed a liver transplant. Had I
Mm,
not made my health that priority, I wouldn't have been able to be a donor for a liver transplant because you have to be in impeccable health.
right.
And she's like, it just, so what I'm saying is that maybe yours is like you said, to homeschool your kids. Like you need the energy. What is it for you?
I definitely think, my whole health journey was, I would almost say, completely mental health based. Like, I did not start out on this journey to, I really, yeah, I was miserable in my body and I wanted to look different, but more than anything, I wanted to feel human again. And I didn't. I was such a zombie. And so my journey started in 2021, and it was probably two, maybe even 3 years before I even saw the like weight and inflammation start to go down, because there were like, I was so far in the red that like I had to get off meds. I had to get off a lot of meds. And then I had to, like you were saying, I had to just start walking. And then I had my dip into like being so obsessed, because I have a bit of like an obsessive perfectionistic personality type, that I was so obsessed with doing it all perfectly and having everything be completely clean and not toxic, that I was stressing myself out so bad that I couldn't like get on back on top of it. And so it's kind of funny, because for me, everything really changed when I was like, screw it. Like all of it. I'm going to do what's best for me. And you know what? Right now, if that means that it's not like the cleanest of the cleanest products, but we can afford it or it works, then okay. And I had to kind of like clear the slate to even be able to see clearly enough to see like what were the lies that I was believing. And mine were really similar to yours. I think one of my biggest ones, I would say, was like, this is my genetic lot in life. That like kind of similarly looking at my family, looking at South Louisiana, looking at my history, I was resigned is the perfect word for it. And so I think a lot of my like 21 to 2023 journey was God giving me hope back. Like I had no hope whatsoever. And then once I walked away from doing it perfectly in 2023, was when the wheels actually started to turn. And then and I think you had this experience too, like the wheels are creaking, right? Because like nothing has moved in so long. The wheels are creaking and the lies are dying, is what I found. Like I was barely moving, but I'm off all these meds I thought I would be on for my whole life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this. And then I'm like, eating real whole foods. And oh my gosh, maybe I can do this. And the more I just stacked small, like I started walking, stacking small thing in front of small thing. Because I was thinking about this a lot before, preparing for us to sit down. I really didn't, I really didn't set out to lose weight. I really didn't. I set out to feel like myself again in some capacity. And I was a lot more focused on inflammation. Like I felt like, and I don't know, that can be difficult to distinguish sometimes, but I was like, I just feel like I'm full of crap, which I was not like crap, but like I was full of medication. That takes years for that stuff to get out of your body. I was full of processed food. I was just like, I needed a detox from stress and from outside, factors and environmental factors. And once that ball started rolling, it started really killing the lies. And then once the lies started to die, then momentum starts to gain and you're kind of unstoppable after that point.
For you, I'd love for you to share it because I thought about it. And this was when we were friends. Like I remember when it was like the Titanic, you're trying to changed the Titanic in a different direction. And it feels so overwhelming when you're like just beginning because you feel like the destination is so far off.
Yeah.
But I remember when you made a big turn, whenever you went gluten free, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
because of what it did. And I want you to share that.
Yeah. Also, just realized I totally didn't answer your question, and I will circle back to that. But yeah, so I read Grain Brain in like January or February of 23. And there was I didn't even actually read the whole thing. I always feel like I have to give that like qualifier because I think I read like 6 chapters and I had enough information. Like I was sold. And um there was I remember exactly what it was. There was a study in Grain Brain where they talk about schizophrenics. And this was back in the day where you could like do like unwilling experiments on medical patients. Like you really aren't supposed to do that anymore. But they would take gluten out of these like institutionalized schizophrenics um, diet. They would take the gluten out and their hallucinations would stop and their self-harm would stop. And then they would like put it back in and it would all start again. And I was so at the end of my rope. I was so miserable and unwell at that point, but and had been, well, I wasn't as miserable and unwell, but I had been trying for a really long time. And at that point, my mentality, kind of like what you were talking about, my mentality had changed where I knew I could do things, but now I just didn't know what to do, right? Because there's so much noise and there's so many opinions. Like we were talking about at the beginning, do I count macros? Do I fast? Do I only eat eggs and chicken? Like I don't, I just had like analysis paralysis. And I read this book and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go all in on this and let's just see. Which, by the way, if I had finished the book, you're actually supposed to like gradually eliminate. You're really not supposed to go cold turkey. I have a history of just cold turkeying things. This is not medical advice. Don't like do as I say, not as I do. But I just quit, like literally that day, quit eating gluten. It was just, and then there's the whole like people get real like they're like it's not the gluten, it's the blah blah blah. For me, this works. It worked and it works, and I'm not gonna mill my own flour in this season of my life. So like we're just gonna stick with the no gluten. Um, I had some GI issues and was really tired for a week, and then I woke up one day and I don't think my brain had felt that clear since I was 17. I woke up one day and was like, whoa, like colors are coloring. I don't feel like I want to wring everybody's neck. This is crazy. It's like I had come out of the gluten withdrawal and I felt incredible. My inflammation started to drop so fast. I mean, I had people regularly in my DMs and my real life going, what are you doing? Your face is getting so skinny. Your skin is clearing up so much. And it was literally just cutting gluten. And then like a couple of months after that, I like to say like I'm not completely sober. Like I don't not drink at all. If I'm like at an event and that somebody has a nice glass of champagne, I'm gonna drink it. But again, Southern Louisiana culture, we drink at everything. We're drinking at church events. We're drinking at baby showers. We're drinking on like a Tuesday afternoon because the neighbors are all outside. Like it's just this cultural thing. I'm not advocating for or against it, but gluten. Alcohol is very inflammatory. And I also think people just respond differently to different things. So I think it was like 3 months in, I cut down alcohol. And then it was like that doubled it. And I just saw like, I mean, that was really the only thing that I changed in my diet. I'm still not like the cleanest, like, you know, top tier eater, but I've glutened myself a couple of times in the last 2 years. And I always am just like, that cookie was not even remotely worth it. The brain fog and the bloating, and it like gives me anxiety. Gluten massively impacts my mental health. And so I also think the fact that I had the clarity and the lower stress levels allowed me to start adding things in and habit stacking and doing things. And circling back to the question that you asked before, I totally 100% believe that this entire journey was so that I would have the capacity to homeschool my kids, that God knew that the system was going to fail them and that I was going to get to the absolute end of my rope with handing my children over to other people, and that I was going to need to have the clear-headedness to educate, to sit down and do 4-digit multiplication with my 5th grader. Like, you have to be clear-minded to do all that kind of stuff. And also to have the, and I'm obviously like still so in process, but to have the stress management ability to handle homeschooling and the confidence. And I think it bleeds into like my marriage and my business and all those other things. But I think like if I had to pick one, it was God did all of that. My journey that started in 2021 culminated in pulling them in 2024. 100%.
So good. And how Grain Brain was for you is how Fast Like a Girl was for me. The
Yep.
book Fast Like a Girl and Glucose Revolution. I need to share those two books. And then obviously I love to read Grain Brain as well. I read Fast Like a Girl in January of 2024, right before I made my lifestyle change. And for me, I thought fasting was harmful. Like I thought
Mm-hmm.
that I was going to need a wig because all my hair was going to fall out. And like I'm going to completely wreck my hormones and I'm going to be in menopause a lot earlier. And like you just hear all these terrible stories. And then you read this book, Fast Like a Girl, and she's like, yo, fasting is so healing on your body, especially when you do it around your menstrual cycle. And for
Mm-hmm.
the women in menopause or perimenopause, she also has the Menopause Reset book, is what it's called, by Mindy Pels, Peld. And so I read this book, and for me to implement something, like I have to understand what's going on in my body. You
Mm-hmm.
can't, and that was a big thing for me, a big turning point, because the more I learned about my body and biology and how God designed us, that was when I was like, okay, now I know too much. Like I
Yeah.
can't go back to my old ways because now I know better. And when we know better, we do better. But you also said something like, this food isn't even worth it. And so the more you make healthier swaps, right? Like you're eating whole foods, you're doing these things, you're going to become very sensitive to the foods that you used to eat all the time. Like I used to wear this as a badge of honor where I could just eat donuts and like I wouldn't feel a thing. When in reality, I was insulin
That's not
resistant.
a
My
good
body
thing.
was so right, but I would wear it as a badge. Like I'm not even sensitive. I could eat all this processed garbage and not feel anything. Now, I'll never forget. I was 4 weeks into my lifestyle change. I eat a boudin ball with maple syrup on top, and it was on a biscuit. And all my Louisiana people know what a boudin ball
Mm-hmm.
is. It put me into a coma. I had to go home and take a 3 hour nap. My kids were like, Mom, we couldn't wake you up. And I was like, that boudin ball was not
And that
worth
was just
the
4 weeks in.
I was 4 weeks in, bro. And so you get to a point where one, you know too much. Like I want to encourage you to actually don't trust the people on Instagram. Like don't just do what they say. I want you to become your own citizen
It needs to
scientist.
be yours.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have to be willing to experiment. Like we're all genetically created differently. And so we're going to have like the way you responded to gluten, I didn't respond that same way,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so we can't do all the same exact things. And I just want to encourage people like to be willing to trust your body and
Mm-hmm.
trust what your body is telling you. And it's hard to do that, in this day and age with social media and things like that. Um, but when I read The Glucose Revolution, so I read Fast Like a Girl, and fasting taught me that if you can control your flesh, you can unlock the spirit within you. Like when you control your flesh, when you control your cravings, when you're not constantly, eating food to distract yourself, like that is when the Holy Spirit literally came alive
And
for
that's
me. That is,
biblical.
Go preach it.
No,
Tell
I
us
mean, that's
more.
biblical. We're constantly told, leave behind what's behind and pursue what's ahead of you. And like the killing off of the flesh and the renewing of your mind and not conforming to the patterns of this world. And we don't think that applies to our bodies and the way that we treat our body as well. Like, this is all like our body and our spirit are so interconnected because they were created by like an incredible, brilliant creator that we will never even understand the depths of how he knitted us together. And that's exactly what we're talking about. That like when the mindset starts to change, your body starts to change, or when your body starts to change, your mindset starts to change, and your spirit is in there, and it's all together. And I wanted to just really quick go back to something that you said about how like you can't tolerate the stuff that you used to be able to like, because old Amy could have eaten the boudin ball biscuit, maple syrup, the 5 donuts, and it didn't touch you and it was fine. I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday about that in the spiritual, about how as God levels you up, as he takes you into new places, your tolerance for things that you used to do or people around you used to do grows less and less. And that is a good thing. And it's this sign and affirmation that we are moving with the Father. Like when those things irritate our spirit or think even like irritate our body, that is a sign that I have outgrown this and that he is asking me to leave this behind. Like she and I were talking about, like busy and hustle and how the further you get into rest, the more like if your schedule starts to really fill up, you have less and less tolerance for that because you've become attuned to this slower pace that the Father's asking you to walk in. And so I just think it's like so important for us to remember that you're not going to start working on one area of your life and it not stagger into every other area.
That's so good. Yeah. And it just made me really reflect on like, since I started this, my spiritual growth is like
Oh my gosh.
even more impactful than the physical changes of my body. Like whenever I fast, and there was this one day earlier this year, but now I do it all the time. There was this one day where I did a 24-hour fast from food and social media.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was the first time that I did both. And y'all, I will never ever forget. That was the first time where God started to show me visions. I was in the grocery store at Whole Foods, and had I been on my phone, right, like just staying distracted, we just are I'm popping in music or something like that, I would have never noticed this. But this lady taps me and she's like, "Can you grab the chicken, at the top?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And so then she starts telling me how she hurt her back. And then I could just feel the pain and I could feel her sadness. And she starts to cry. And I never felt rushed like I would have felt or distracted with my phone because I'm overstimulated because somebody made a hateful comment about me on social media or something like that. Because I was so present with this woman, it was like I was able to hold space to let her cry right by the Amy Lou sausages. And then I was like, "Can I pray with you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I never, ever, ever did that before.
But now you do it like regularly.
It's so crazy to think about because that
Yeah.
was the very first time that happened. And we had that moment and she was just sobbing right there. And then I walk away and God shows me these visions. Like I was seeing people in Whole Foods and they had like these little thought bubbles. I've never done the Sims, but you have like little thought bubbles. And he showed me what each person was walking through. Like this one was walking through a divorce. This one just lost her mother. This one might have a cancer diagnosis and she's feeling anxious. And it made me realize like, we all are hurting. Like we all
Mm-hmm.
have this deep pain, but we're walking around grocery stores like just nobody will ever know what we're dealing with inside of us. And it just gave me like, man, I need to have deep compassion for people.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have empathy. I need to have patience. I need to have grace. Like, and I need to see them, like, and sit with them, like, really see them. And that was a day of like just a spiritual awakening just from fasting for a few hours from my phone and food. And still, like now, God has been showing me visions so much more frequently and so often. And I just think of him like, I got a vision yesterday. I was driving and it was going back to our conversation that we had, Blake, about free will.
Mm-hmm.
And I was picturing God and how we are the driver of our life, but God is sitting in the passenger seat, but he's not grabbing the wheel. Like he's just whispering to us where we need to turn. And so whenever we are on the path that we're supposed to be, we may not hear God speak to us. And I'm closing my eyes because it's like a vision that he showed me. We may not be, we may not hear God speak to us when we're on the path we're supposed to be. And I compared it to like if you're on a road trip, when we're on the interstate, the GPS is not speaking to us because we're going in the direction God wants us to be.
You did not
But
watch my
then,
stories before we recorded this, did you?
no, I did not. No, but I want to know. Let me finish.
No,
Hold
because you're
on.
saying exactly what I said.
And so, whenever we get closer to our destination, or whenever we're in transition and we're in this major life transition, God's going to start speaking to us more frequently and more clearly because he needs to tell us where to turn.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I'm experiencing right now. For so long, I was like, I'm not really hearing from God, but I was on the path of where I was supposed to be.
Exactly.
So, no, I did not. I was
That's
eating my.
wild.
Tell me
That
about
is,
it.
I
That
literally
is
said
so
exactly what you
cool.
just said. I said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but maybe God is silent in this season because he already said what he's going to say, and you're walking in obedience and he doesn't need to repeat himself.
Wow.
And the conversation that you and I had about free will and obedience was we were talking about how like we both walk through like similar things a lot of the time at the same time, and we'd both been like frustrated with something, but we were obedient, and then boom boom boom, God like laid it all out and made it all work out. And because we didn't panic, and because we stayed the course and kept our integrity, kept our boundaries, kept what we knew God had asked us to do, he completely worked it out. But like it was our free will and our obedience with his sovereignty and his being over everything. It's this beautiful dance. And I can't even sit here and pretend like I understand it in its entirety. Like I don't know what was the obedience and what was just God working it out and how much of it is like our obedience really impacts our experience with his plans and the timing. I think a lot of the time we can have an impact on the timing that God has for us with disobedience and with a grumbling heart instead of worship. But I feel like that ties so much into what we're talking about. Like I knew that I needed to like take control of my life and my health so much longer before I did. And I knew that what I was doing wasn't working and that I wasn't headed the direction I wanted to head. But obedience felt hard and scary and blurry. And I didn't know where he was taking me. So I wasn't going to go anywhere. I do that. I used to do that all the time. I don't have the full 5-point plan, so I'm just going to stay right here. And it's like, imagine if Israel had done that. Imagine if Israel had been like, well, we don't know exactly where you're taking us when you get us out of slavery, so we'll just stay slaves, which to be fair, Israel did like consistently go, okay, this isn't going the way we thought it would. So like, can we just go back to being slaves? And that's why I'm always telling people like, don't go back to Egypt. Don't be like Israel. But there was something that you said in your stories or in your video where you were like, we all want to go to the next level, but the person that you are now won't know how to value the next level or have the energy, stamina, or confidence to maintain it. And I think like that ties into our free will and our obedience. Like we want to go somewhere, but we want to fully understand how we're going to get there or where we're going, or like we don't want to change in order to go there. And God's going, okay, then you can stay where you are. And that sounds harsh, but I think that he's like, that's protectionary. He's like, I'm not taking you to the promised land because there's giants there and you're not going to be able to fight them who you are today.
You Man, dude, that is so good because it made me think. It really just brought me back. Like when you said, well, I guess when I said that if you want to go to the next level, like who you are today, you're not going to know how to value it, like the
Hmm.
blessings and the
Hmm.
opportunity that it gives you. And then you won't have the tools or maybe the confidence to be able to maintain it and show up. And I think back, like, had I not initially started my lifestyle change, okay, maybe it was 13 years ago, it was in 2012, I wouldn't have ever like gained the confidence and like I would have never attracted my husband. It's so true.
Yeah.
Like the person that I initially was, I would have never met my husband now. And it goes back to confidence of like, who do you have to become in order to maintain the blessing that he's trying to give you? And he's just
100%.
really trying to shape you. And, you know, you said something like, sometimes we just sit and we wait and we don't know where to go. And I'm a big believer in like action brings clarity.
100%.
Faith without works is dead. God doesn't put the promise in our hand, He puts it within our reach. And it's up to us to take action, to take a step, to go out and grab that promise. And when we just sitting and we're praying and we're praying and we're praying and we're sitting in it, it's like balancing on a bike that's not moving. Like you really have to pedal, like you
Hmm.
have to take the first steps. I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the first step. And that
Yeah.
has always been my motto through life. Like action is going to bring clarity. And when you take action with your health, you're going to see God move in all aspects of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people get real weird. I kind of was alluding to that earlier. People get really weird about like the faith moving mountains or like that. Because look, sometimes actually God will drop things in your lap. Like, yes, he absolutely will. But a lot of the time he drops them in your lap when you're like walking in obedience. Like I don't think that nobody's asking you to start from zero and jump to 100. And I think we have that expectation of ourselves. We think that God is asking me to do this hard thing. Let's continue with the health analogy. Like, I need to make a change. And so that means that tomorrow I have to, from morning to night, be the most disciplined, perfectly clean eating, active,
Mhm,
stress free, mindset clear person.
mhm,
That could very well be what's holding you back. Because is that actually what God's asking of you? Is He asking you
mhm,
to be perfect? Is He asking you to know everything about everything tomorrow without having opened a book? Or is the obedience He's asking of you to like surrender it, to agree to go on this journey with Him, to come into like agreement with Him that something needs to change? And like I posted yesterday, invite Him into everything. If you feel that nudge, what's the first thing He's asking you to do? Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's going to bed at an appropriate time so that you have the energy to start doing some of these other things. And I think that belief that we've got to do it all out the gate, that held me back for a really long time as well. And then I discovered habit stacking and was like, no, I'm going to get really like, and gluten was my first one. Like, I'm going to get really good, really confident. I'm going to let this become a habit. A habit is something that you do without thinking about it. And so I let not eating gluten, turning down the cake, and finding other ways to like eat breakfast. I did that. I mean, that was, I guess it was like 3 months. And then alcohol was next. And then I started to be like, I think I started drinking water after that. and then I started like actually taking some supplements. And then, so like you don't have to do this at 100% out the gate. That will intimidate you into freeze.
yeah. And I also like it made me think of this reel, like on social media, we see these crazy before and after transformations, like 3 months, and
Yep.
whenever I first started, I was like, okay, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds in 3 months and I'm gonna have this crazy, amazing transformation. And I hardly saw any change in those 3 months, hardly anything. And I saw this reel of this girl and I repost it like probably once a month at this point because I just love it so much. Um, she shows herself like very morbidly obese of where she started, and she couldn't walk up this hill.
Oh, I know that.
And you remember, you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then she shows video of how like she just continued to do the small habits of just trying to walk up this hill. And then 2 years later, she's like a completely, totally, totally different person. And her whole message is give it 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like we go for 2 months or 3 month
Yeah.
fixes, like these quick fixes, these drastic weight losses. But the slower the weight comes off, the longer it's gonna stay
It took
off.
me four
And
years.
yeah, dude, like, and what are we rushing for? Like, we are at the age, y'all. Today's my birthday. Actually, I'm 38 and I'm now in my late 30s. I'm pushing 40 and I'm literally like thinking constantly of who do I want to be for my grandchildren? How do
Mm.
I want to play with my grandchildren? What are the things that I want to do with my grandchildren? I know that could be extreme, but I'm like, the muscle that I'm building today, dementia doesn't start when you're 65. Dementia starts on the habits that you're in your 40s.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like heart disease doesn't start or have a heart attack when you're in your 60s or 70s. It's the habits and what the lifestyle that we have in our 30s and our 40s.
Yep.
And so now I'm thinking like, how can I continue to improve? If you saw my feed, I follow all these fit women in their 60s and 70s, like
Yes.
grandma, straight up
Yes.
flexing their quads and their calves. And I'm like, bring it, sis, because that's the inspiration for me. That's what I'm building for.
100%. And that's what inspires me now. Like, I mean, if you I don't want to like downplay people that like lose a bunch of weight really fast. Like that's great. Like congratulations. I love that. I think that's a great thing. It was not realistic for me. I think for a lot of moms, it's not, because your hormones change so much and you're also responsible for keeping these small humans alive, and you can't devote like your whole entire life and day to taking care of yourself. And that belief held me back for such a long time that, and I think a huge asset for me was that I didn't set out to lose weight. I set out to like try to fix my brain and be able to be the person and mother that I wanted to be. And it was a very fortunate byproduct that I lost a ton of weight and inflammation. But I love that it took me 4 years. I love that it took, well, I mean, shoot, it really took me like 8 because my youngest is 8. So if we're being really honest, it took me 8 years to lose the baby weight. But like, I needed to hear that from other people that it didn't take them 3 months, that it took them a long time. And then I remember you saying that for the first time, the longer it takes for the weight to come off, the longer it stays off. And I was like, oh, then we're golden. Like this weight's staying off forever. Because my goal changed though. My goal was not to be skinny. My goal was not to fit in a certain size pants. My goal was to be able to have the stamina to keep up with my kids. I didn't even know that the goal was going to be like disciplined enough to homeschool or anything like that. But it was just like, to now I want to be the mom. Like I want my, literally this morning, my kid challenged me to a cartwheel competition and I beat her butt. Like, yeah, I did, because that's the mom that I want to be able to be. And so I think you have to find what your thing is. And if it's 60-year-old grandmas flexing on Instagram, bet. Like that sounds great. If it's like you being able to go across the monkey bars, if it's cartwheels, if it's just like feeling rooted and present in your body. That's an incredible goal that I think we forget. There are millions of people walking around the earth that have no idea what that feels like. Just feeling present and content in your body and in your life. What an incredible goal.
Without anxiety, like
Yeah.
so my goal was different than yours. Like I did set out, I wanted a smaller pant size. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to lose weight very quickly. I wanted all, like I needed it. And then it became less about that and more about like, I can't remember the last time I had anxiety. I don't take any naps. I like don't have a crash anymore. I cannot recommend like I would tell people actually to read The Glucose Revolution first
Yeah.
because she has pictures, okay? Like on every page. I'm a picture person, I'm a visual learner. She speaks through analogies. She's not overly scientific. She tells stories. I read the book probably in 4 days. Other people read it in a day. Like it was one of the most impactful books because she's not wanting you to restrict a single thing. And
Yeah.
all the hacks that she gives y'all, it's free. She's
Yeah.
not trying to sell you a supplement or this or that. Like it is completely free to change the order in which you eat your food. You
Yeah.
know, it's a completely free to move your body after you eat or maybe eat some protein with some carbs. She has all these amazing, like easy hacks where the wait for people and my followers. This one chick messaged me yesterday. She read The Glucose Revolution. She was pre-diabetic in April. She's 55 pounds down now today, simply from reading The Glucose Revolution, eating her food in a different order, eating more high protein, high fat foods, and walking every day.
Yeah.
And she said she also got pregnant so easily and she wasn't able to get pregnant easily now. Like it is literally resetting your hormones and
Yeah.
it's how we're designed. So I'm so grateful that we were able to have this conversation and like just take it on a spiritual level because it
Yeah.
is so spiritual. It is all connected.
It is. And I think when you can set out on it with that in mind, like think about if you could have known now what you like at the beginning of your journey. If you had known like this was going to shape me into a disciplined person that can go to the next level, like you would have had even more fire in your bones than you did originally. And so my hope is that there are people that are listening that have like had that nudge. You're getting this like right before the end of the year, the new year resolutions start. Like start now. You don't have to wait. This is actually a great time to set some things in your life that are non-negotiables before you start going to holiday parties and your schedule starts to fill up. Like this could not actually be more perfect timing. It's honestly a good reset and a reminder for me to like stay true to what I know works for me. And I don't like I was talking to Jeremy the other day about heading into holidays and I was like the wheels are not coming off. They're not coming off mentally, spiritually, or physically. Like I'm not glutening myself at every single party. I'm not drinking a bunch. I'm not going to like get stressed and overpack our schedule because we are going to like rest. We're going to Sabbath. We're going to like enjoy this season. And so I think the encouragement is just like like ask God what the next right thing is and do it. And then just keep asking him that and keep doing it. And I think I am almost done with Glucose Revolution. It's just an easy read. I think that's a great place to start. And then follow Amy. Amy shares all kinds of, I mean, you're like a grab bag. It's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, but it's all great and encouraging and like inspiring. You're one of those people on Instagram that like, I want to buy everything that you talk about, but then also I show up because I know I'm going to get fed. And also I'm probably going to laugh at some point. And so there's a reason you're one of my favorites.
That's right. BFF life.
Yeah. I love you.
And I love you too. Thank you for having me on today. It was so much fun. I'm grateful to be able to have this conversation and share it. And, you know, for the woman listening to this, I just want to encourage you to start today. Start when it's hard. Start before the holidays. Start before the vacations. Start before the birthday. Like life is not going to slow down for you. I know you're waiting for it to slow down. I know you're waiting for it to ease up and get easier, and it's not. And so if you start when it's hard, when life does give you a chance when it eases up, you're going to be like, wow, I created habits when it was hard. When
Yeah.
life is going to feel out of control for you, your habits are going to be in control. You're going
Yeah.
to be so in control with what's the foods going on in your mouth, and you're going to be grateful you started now when you did. So thank you again, Blake, for having me on.
Preach. So good.